to voicemail, and it froze. The screen froze. So yeah, welcome back. So what happens is these companies are not going to tell you, or they're not going to be forthcoming with you, or even if they are, is not something that they are going to emphasize, and they leave Jesus Christ. They leave that information to you as the investor to do your own homework. So here's the thing, guys. Yes. So here's the thing. Think in 5 year terms, and I'm talking to you directly. If you are going to get into investing in something like land or following a company that I just mentioned, you gotta think of your investments in 5 year terms. Okay. Meaning, whatever amount that you invest, you have to be willing to not pay attention to it at the very minimum for 5 years. Because that's the time it's going to take for that asset to appreciate. If you are looking at coming into an investment with companies like Asset Rise, or you go into all of these real estate developments that's happening in Nigeria, and you think that you can come in and within a few months or a year or two, you are going to be able to take that investment and flip it into a gain, you are not really being honest with yourself, because that is not the way it works. So you gotta look at your investments in 5 year terms. Okay. Ideally 10 years. Okay. So your exit strategy should at least be 10 years. So if you're investing in 2025, you gotta look at it like, okay, I have $5,000 to invest in a property, or I have $5,000 I'm spending on land in 2025. You can't think of that investment again until 2035. So that is a full decade for that for development to catch up with that area. For those who are looking at land banking. Okay. A sweet spot is 7.5 years. But I think you should start seeing return on your investment within at least 5 years of investing. So if, for instance, in our case, we bought property, we bought land at Ibejuleki near the Dangote refinery in 2020. Okay, it's 2025 now. Now, if I want to sell, I can start looking at the possibility of selling that land for profit. But why would I do that when that land has increased fivefold? So what that data is telling me that I should hold on to it for a lot longer. Okay. Because in 5 years now, if I would have invested in 2020 and then in 2021, I'm looking at, oh, where's my ROI? That is not a smart way to look at it. So you got to be able to give that money time, that investment dollar time for it to grow. So a 10-year window. So now in our case, we purchased the property in 2020 for an equivalent of $2,000. That's what we paid for it in 2020. Back then, dollar was a dollar. It was a dollar. It was a dollar to 425 naira when we bought that property. So we had $2,000 laying around, and we figured, you know what? Instead of that money being in the bank, let's put it towards land banking, and that's what we did. So today, if someone were to offer me 20 million naira for that particular property right now, I'm not going to take it. Okay. So now what that information is telling me that in the last 5 years, that property, because that's literally land is completely sold out in Ibejuleki at this point. So much so that they've expanded into Ekpe, and even in Ekpe, land has sold out. They are going deeper and deeper and deeper into Ogun State. So these developers are not going to be honest with you. They're not going, because it's not in their best interest. And here's another thing too, is treat investing in Nigeria as you would investing in the United States or investing abroad. There's nothing special about it. Don't glorify the process. Don't bow down to the don't bow down to Nigerian investing. As in like pounding your chest, thinking you're doing something special. Just approach it the way you would approach any strategic investment you would do here in the United States. Obviously, you want to visit the property, or you have representatives out there that can visit the property for you. Make sure that you are dealing with the rightful owners of the land. If you're not dealing with direct sellers, because there are people in Nigeria as well who are actually owner sellers. Like the landowner wants to sell their own property and they don't necessarily want to go through an agent. But just do your due diligence the way you would do your due diligence out here in the United States. Make sure you have the right documentation in place. Make sure you have the right people around you on your team that's going to go and that's going to verify that the land or the property is what they are advertising it to be. So don't bow down to investing in Nigeria or think it's something major or you're doing something that hasn't been done before under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. It's just an investment. Treat it as such. Normalize the process. And another thing too that I would recommend is, and this is for hello Raptor, how are you, Daniel, Jackson, Raptor, where are you guys at? I'm just text your location there so I know where you guys are. Normalize the process. It's when people start getting excited. That's usually the devil is in the detail. When you pay attention to the detail, the fine print, when you pay attention to the detail, you're going to start seeing loopholes. But you can't pay attention to the detail when you are excited about a deal. And then there's this thing that's like, they call it promos. They'll say, oh, right now land is currently, and again, there's nothing wrong with that, but you got to look at the fine print. They'll tell you, oh, land right now is 10 million naira, but if you pay today, it's 5 million. They're basically slashing the price 50%. You see, this is what happens. That is trying to build an excitement. You see, you don't see that sort of a thing happening. You can never ever see that happening in the United States or abroad. So in our case, when we purchased this property, this is a 6,500 square feet property. So we have 3 structures in this property. We actually offered $5,000 more than the seller was asking for. And as a result of offering 5,000, because when we came in and inspected the property and we saw the potential of the property, we decided to go in $5,000 higher than the seller was asking for. And as a result, we closed on the property. And now this was in 2021 that we bought this place. Fast forward now to 2025, this property has appreciated by at least $100,000 in a matter of 3 years. Real estate isn't something, or land acquisition isn't something that needs to be rushed. So do your due diligence. Treat the process as you would the process of investing at your domiciled country, whether it's in the United States, Europe, or Canada. Another thing that I should also add is get into the habit of working with your spouse. For the men who are watching this, get into the habit of working with your wife. If you are a woman, of working with your husband. You know that term, that adage, don't mix business with family. that doesn't apply to your immediate family. That is something that applies to like more of extended families. But when I mean, who has out of everybody that you know, who has your best interest at heart the most? Your spouse and your children. So if you're in a position to work with your spouse and your children, you want to take that on. With the Nigerian culture, it's usually, the man that makes the decision. It's the man that beats his chest, and it's the man that has the 100% say so in everything. If you really truly want to be successful as an investor in Nigeria, you have to bring the United States mindset into that process. But you see, working with your spouse does not make you less than a man. I don't make any decision unless my wife is on board. When I used to travel, I was a project manager. I worked out for Walmart for 18 months, and I would travel all over rural America doing store transformations. I learned a lot about merchandising, and I learned that the wealth of America is not really in the cities. The wealth of America is in rural America. So throughout my travels, I was able to meet a lot of influential, wealthy people. I mean, these are people where you you can't, if you were to see them on the road, you would just brush by them thinking that they're nobody. But these people are the ones that are controlling the country. You will see them in their beat up trucks and their beat up vehicles when it's time to walk. But then when it's time to play, you will see them in their blacked out presidential Escalade. I was around these people for 18 months because I golfed with them for 18 months. So one day I was at a bar this was in Denver. I was working in Denver at that time. I was at a bar in Denver and I sat next to a guy, just kind of shooting the breeze, talking, drinking a bourbon, just kind of having a conversation. And the more that, and I think you gotta listen more than you speak. If you just listen more than you speak, you will learn so much more than if you were if you are the one that's always leading conversations. Just listen. So I sat there and I listened to this particular individual, and your environment also matters. Your environment also matters. So what this guy, and after learning about him, I learned that he had a software company that he ran for like 20 years. He ended up selling the company to like Toshiba and made like millions of dollars. Millions of dollars this guy made. And now what does he do? He just travels the United States, watches basketball games, and that's just the way he lives his life. So I'm like, you know what? You mind if I ask you some questions about just life, business? And he was like, yeah, sure, Rich, go ahead. I'm like, okay, well, what is your secret to success? And he said to me, you know what, Rich? It's not that hard. It's who you marry, where you live, and the type of work you do. I said, say that again. It's who you marry, where you live, and the type of work you do. You see, we've been programmed to think success means you gotta work your tail off to the bone. You gotta work. I'm not saying hard work isn't necessary or hard work isn't important. It's very important. But what this man told me was it's who you marry. If you want to be, it's who you marry, where you live, and the type of work that you do. So what am I getting at here? When you marry a good person, the point I'm trying to get here is the partnership with your spouse. Because it starts there. When you have a good spouse, They will be able to advise you in business. You might have a lane that you want to go into. They might be able to give you context on why you should or you should not go in that lane. So that is why when it comes to investing in Nigeria, and I'm going to tie this back to Nigeria because Nigeria is largely a extended family. You know, you have distractions from here, distractions from there, distractions from everywhere, and people tend to listen to those distractions more than they listen to their spouses. So when you get into the habit of bringing your spouse into your decision making process, because that woman and that man, they're the only two people that have your best interest at heart. They're going to be able to guide you and advise you on certain things. Obviously, you want to bring, you want to be around a community like our platform, or you want to be around other like minds. But just the ability of being able to bring your spouse into your decision making process is going to take you a lot further than if you were to play the Nigerian game. If you were to play the Nigerian game of always feeling like you have to be the decision maker, of always feel like, oh, your word is it's your way or the highway. Am I registering with you? Don't get excited about anything in Nigeria. Normalize it. Normalize your investment strategy. Normalize your investment process. It's just another day at the office. There's no magic to it. It's just another day at the office. When you approach it from that standpoint, it relaxes you. You are able to now start looking at the details, like the fine details was okay. Instead of now making decisions, investment decisions based on emotions, now you're making investment decisions based on business. When you normalize it, it opens up your world. You're able to see things that you don't normally see. But when you think that investing in Nigeria is this special thing that you think you're the only one that's doing it, that is when you get sucked into all of these craziness that's going on with CBEX and Ponzi schemes and this and that. When someone comes out of the shadows and tells you that you're going to have 100% ROI in 30 days, and you fall for something like that. Think in 5 to 10 year terms. Where can you invest? You see, here's another thing too. So there's this thing going on right now where you look online and then you see Nigerians abroad, which is actually very comical to me. Where they're saying things like, oh, America is not the place to be. America is not, life is hard here. What life is hard in America? What are you talking about? You have the privilege and the opportunity to live in the United States, the wealthiest country on earth. Are you complaining? There are two things going on here. You have the opportunity. I mean, you are in a position that most people would kill for. And because you've been unable to figure out the system or to make it work for you, you are also sitting in the same United States talking about it, life is hard, life is difficult. You can't love the fruit and hate the tree. And you also cannot love the tree and hate the fruit. So when 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 people are saying these things about the United States of America, and you see them on social, I've seen a couple of videos of people talking about, oh, how the United States of America is. Are you kidding me? You are in a position to hold that blue US passport. You're living in the richest country in the last 100, 200 years. Name one other country that's richer than America. And on top of that, you are also in Nigeria, a Nigerian. The richest country, forget what they are saying about Nigeria, the richest country in the African continent. So here you are in the United States, the richest nation on earth. You're also from Nigeria, the richest nation in the African continent. Name another country that's richer than Nigeria. In Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, there isn't. You have these two countries working for you, and you are sitting there complaining that life is hard. What are you talking about? The dollar is at 15.85 today. But you would rather send money to family and friends to go and burial, you fund, wedding, you fund, school fees. Now you don't they come for that. Able-bodied, you are sitting there funding you're funding the lifestyle of able-bodied Nigerians when you can turn that USD into assets in Nigeria that you can own and pass on to your kids and you can build upon. What is the ROI in remittances? What is the ROI in remittances? If you have $1,000 laying around that you can invest, that's going to work for you for the rest of your life, and you would rather use it. And it's these same people that don't really have anything. You see, the theme ultimately is ownership. That is, if you look at the way the world is right now, everybody's running towards ownership. What do you own? What do you own abroad? And what do you own back home? Where is your piece of the pie? Where is your ownership stake in all of this? You see, my objective when I'm doing all this content is to be able to, at least, if I don't change anything, I want to get you to start thinking a little bit differently. Where is your ownership abroad? How can you own something when you're literally rolling out the window and throwing your money away? By funding lifestyles in Nigeria, and then you're sitting here in America complaining that America is not America. How many Americas do we? The one me I live in is a land of opportunity. If you know what you're doing, if you are disciplined, if you are financially literate, if you are willing to invest in knowledge, and you're willing to sacrifice people, you are literally sacrifice. Me, I'm the master of blocking. If I'm talking to somebody and that conversation turns into money, I block you immediately. I'm a job creator. I create jobs. I don't loan dash people money. If you don't have the skill set or the experiences that I'm looking for, go out there and invest in it. What are you talking about? How many years? Majority of Nigerians are here for decades with nothing to show for it. And they're all dying here. Most of them are just dying here left and right. With absolutely nothing to show for it. Where is your ownership stake in your own country? You see, every time you're sitting up there blaming the system, Nigeria is bad, America is bad. In 2003, when they were pushing VGC back then, Victoria Garden City, I remember when I was in Malibu, California, 2003, 2004, when they were pushing VGC in those days in Lekki. Niger, you're talking about like the height of 419. The height of 419, like 2003, was 419 was everywhere at that time. VGC was in development. The VGC pitched VGC to me. I was in my early 20s. I couldn't compute because I was not informed. Because I was thinking, I'm going to get scammed. I'm going today in call. I don't even think you can get a house in VGC for less than ₦1 billion. VGC that they pitched to me in 2003, 2004. Victoria Garden City. You know fit find house for VGC for less than 1 billion. So you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. In the midst of chaos, there's always opportunity. So if you are waiting for the day when Nigeria, where scam no go day, where people no go try scam you, you will die before you see that day. Because there's always going to be somebody that's trying to take advantage of somebody. There's no society that you go into, even in the American society, there are schemers, there are people who are going to try and take advantage of you, but there are also opportunity in the midst of all of that. But you're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to decipher these opportunities if you have a warped way of thinking, or if you're not around people who have the information that you need to be successful. If I know today, if I knew then in 2003 what I know today, I would have invested at VGC now. But I was young. I was in my early 20s. I was young. I didn't have the information. Even the people, the so-called family members back home, they will rather steal from you or take from you before they help you out. But times have changed. I missed out on VGC. The point is, there are more VGCs springing up in Nigeria today. Are you ready? Are you ready to capitalize on these opportunities? First, it starts with the shift of mindset. And then you have to be willing to humble yourself enough to be able to pick up on information. You see, Ibejuleki is my own VGCO that I invested in 5 years ago. I'm not selling. I'm not. Because you know what's happening in that Lekki area? They are building new airports. They are expanding Lekki. Ibejuleki is my own version of VGC today. The only mistake I made was I didn't buy more plots. My cousin bought 6. Me, I bought 1. Today, you know if you see land for Ibejuleki. You gotta turn your currency, your United States. America is the best. There's no money in Europe now. There's no money in Canada. There's no money in Europe. In a US money day. Don't let anybody lie to you. In a US money day. If you took two people, same merit, same credentials, same drive, same hustle, same age, you take one, you put him in the United States of America, you take another one, you put him in Europe. Give them 10 years. The one in the United States is going to thrive better than the one in Europe because the system in the United States is a capitalist system. It works. It's a simple system. You eat what you kill. That's the American system for you. Some of you are waiting for something to die. You are like vultures, waiting for something to die before you go and scavenge, when you can go out and kill something. I love all of my European watchers and viewers and all of that, but there's no, they want to come here. People in Canada want to, if you are disciplined, because the American system is simple. Obey the law of the land. That's where it starts. And ignorance is not an excuse. Oh, me, I don't know. That is not an excuse. Most of the time, when people come here and mess up, it's because they did not obey the law of the land. And as a result of these failures that they have, they'll start projecting it onto others. America no work for me. Fashion, they go back Niger. You love the fruit, but you hate the tree. You love the tree, but you hate the fruit. Okay, if America isn't working, go back to Nigeria now and see if that one works better for you. For those who are complaining about the United States, listen, let me tell you something. I was in the United States Army for 3 years. They paid for my college. Till today, I'm 46, going on 47. I am still reaping the benefits of that investment. I invested 3 years in the U.S. Army until the day I'm out of here. I'm still reaping the benefits of being a veteran. What is your investment? What is your contribution to society? A good way you can contribute to society is to actually go home and invest back home and help create jobs. Because every time that you give money away, you're going to Nigeria to paint the town blue. Who are you impressing? You are in a good space to be able to make an impact. Starts with the mindset. Discipline. This is something they don't teach. If you don't have discipline, you can't make it anywhere. Discipline. They don't teach this. You are in a position of strength. The next 4 years, this Trump, you see, all of you people are playing. You think Trump is playing? Tinubu has another 6 years to go. This is the best time to be in business in Nigeria. You want to own land, you want to own property, you want to make an impact in investments. Now is the time. No complaining. Don't complain. Operate in silence. Think ownership. Think something you can pass on to your kids. My property today, the property in Nigeria that I'm using to make an impact in the global world today, my grandfather was the one who owned that property, that land. Then my father inherited it, did his thing. Then when he passed away, I inherited it. Now I'm doing my thing. And when I'm gone, my kids will inherit it. And they're going to do it generational. I'm talking about this is my grandfather from my dad's side. What did my grandfather on my mom's side leave me? Nothing. No, forget about me. What did my grandparents on my mom's side leave my mom? They didn't leave them nothing. And as a result, my mom left me nothing. So you see the pattern there? Ownership. Generational wealth. You see, all it takes is one person to break the cycle of poverty, the cycle of lack, the cycle of always blaming. That's really all it takes. The cycle of just rubbish. Someone has to break that cycle. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm a businessman. Everything that I'm sharing with you is just based on personal experience. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not religious. I don't deal in any of that stuff. I'm black and white. A little bit of gray area there, but mostly black and white. And another advice for you. If you are going to do anything in Nigeria, you have to be 100% explicit about what you want. Otherwise, Nigerians will make your decisions for you. Nigerians are specialists at making decisions for people. They will make decisions for you. If you are not, you got to be 100% certain and explicit on what you're looking for. You tell them you want red. They will agree to give you red. And then they'll deliver blue. Having this information, you see, platforms like this, the America platform exists for a reason. 99% of what I share is what I experience firsthand. You want to build wealth? Again, number one, there's no such thing as get rich quick. If you think you're going to come in today, drop an investment, and then tomorrow you get 100% return, you are first of all, you are starting by lying to yourself. A lot of these investment schemes are not going to tell you that. That's why I'm telling you, have a 10-year exit. Sweet spot is 7.5 years. And if you want an early exit, no less than 5 years. Meaning if you invest in 2025, don't even look at that investment until 2030. Set it and forget it. That's what we did. We had $2,000 of disposable cash that we invested on property in 2020. This same Nigeria that the uninitiated will tell you, Nigeria is the last frontier. The uninitiated, they will tell you, stay away. Nigeria no safe. Which Nigeria no safe? If you understand the principles of security, you see, we learned this in the army. You can be safe anywhere on earth. You got to just be able to navigate the principles, the basic principles of self-preservation, security. You got to understand pattern of life. There's so much. The 3 years that I invested, they will teach you these things now. Why do you think I'm able to go to Nigeria and live freely? Because I understand the principles, the basic principles of self-preservation and security. Basic. Have you ever heard of the Swiss cheese analogy when it comes to, just look it up. No one thing is foolproof. That is why you always have to keep creating defense mechanisms around yourself. You got to always keep creating defense mechanisms. You go into your house, you lock your door. You leave your car, you lock your car door. Put a fence around your house. Build a community, a strong community around you. This is you building defense mechanisms around yourself. Do the same thing for your business. Surround yourself with business leaders. Surround yourself with people who know what they're doing when it comes to business and investments. Your mommy and daddy they're not that. Educate yourself in business processes. Educate yourself in investments. Educate yourself in ROI. Being able to identify assets. Being able to identify opportunities. So you are ahead of that opportunity. Before development catches up to you, you're already ahead. We are seeing that live and direct right now with Dangote in the Bejulaki. Development has passed the Beju all the way into Ogun State. Look, I'm 45 minutes into it. I gotta get going because I have a webinar at 11 o'clock, so I gotta run. So what did you learn today? Turning your hard-earned dollars into assets, number one. Ownership. Get into the mindset of owning something. When you give people money in the form of remittances, you lose, they lose, because there's no ROI there. Another thing, don't bow down to Nigeria. Treat your investments in Nigeria as you would your investments abroad. Do your due diligence. Take your time. Don't rush. Know who you're dealing with. Get as much information about the property. When something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. If someone tries to sell you a cul-de-sac and they'll start giving you this story about, I want to jackpot, that's what I'm telling you. It's too good to be true. Don't fall for things like that. Lastly, you can't hate the fruit and love the tree. You either hate the fruit and hate the tree, or you love the fruit and love the tree. But you cannot hate the fruit and love the tree any more than you can hate the tree and love the fruit. Start where you are, because they will never ever. During that time that we invested, it was a time that we just had our daughter. So you had all this, let me just hold on to the money to take care of my kid or this and that. There will never ever be a perfect time. But you gotta make that move. Visit Embericat.com. Look at Embericat.com/webinar for those who are interested in entering the US market. Embericat.com/consulting. Embericat.com/mentorship. Like, share, comment, guys. Sorry for the tech issue earlier. I wish that didn't happen, but a call came in. I was trying to dismiss that call and then the screen froze. So hopefully YouTube can blend the two. or I'll have to go back on the back end and change it from like part 1 and part 2, because this is a continuation of that first video. All right, guys. Hope you guys find this informative, insightful. Be sure to like, share, and comment. My name is Richard Berkat. All the best. Talk to you guys there. Bye.